The Dodgers keep winning, spring training keeps rolling, and Mookie Betts is nowhere to be seen in game action.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, baseball might be heading toward a future that completely changes how the Dodgers operate. One Dodger is making noise on his way out of camp, but first, Los Angeles is still undefeated as spring training keeps rolling, and yet one question keeps getting louder by the day, Travis. Where is Mookie Betts?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe they don't need him. Maybe they've won every game they've played without him. So who knows? Maybe they're keeping him on ice until an emergency shows up.
Hey, if they can win without him, when we get him back, I think it's going to be even better.
Right.
You can catch Travis every weekday afternoon from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA, holding it down on the Travis and DeMarco Show. And if you're not in Southern California or you're on the move, the ESPN LA app keeps you plugged in no matter where you are. As for me, when I'm not on the call for USC football games in Espanol, this is home base, breaking down Dodgers baseball with you day in and day out. If today's your first time here, welcome in. You picked a good place to land. And if you're an everydayer, you already know this show doesn't work without you. Are you watching on YouTube? Huge favor. Tap that like button, jump into the comments, and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, a quick 5-star rating helps this show reach even more Dodger fans. And if you ever want your voice on the show, like we will be listening a caller later on today, the Locked On Dodgers listener line is always open. 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. Leave a voicemail or a text. All right. Where's Mookie? The Dodgers are doing exactly what contenders are supposed to do when you want to be the best team. Win. The difference is right now they're doing it in February too. Winning games, showing off depth, and reminding everyone why they're chasing history. 6 straight spring wins. Pitching looks sharp, lineups look deep, and yet no Mookie Betts. So before anyone panics, let's slow down. This spring is intentionally different for Mookie, and that matters, Travis. Now the Dodgers actually had 6 weeks compared to 2 years ago when they started their year off in Korea, a year ago when they started off in Japan. Now they have opening day, March 27th at Dodger Stadium, so they get a full spring. They get 6 weeks over there in Arizona, but literally the only player that we haven't seen yet that isn't injured is Mookie Betts. And I want to see him hopefully soon. And it seems like it could be Sunday or quickly after that.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think we'd all like to see him, but I don't, if they're telling me that he's healthy, if he is healthy, then I think it's all good. Mookie Betts has been a major leaguer for a long time. He's a 4-time World Series champ. He's an MVP. He's a deadlock cinch Hall of Famer. I think that he made that incredible transition from the outfield to shortstop and did it very quickly in the grand scheme of things and did it really well in the grand scheme of things. That if he needs a little more time to on-ramp, fine. It doesn't really concern me all that much. My feeling on spring training as long as with the time they're ready to go when the season starts, great. Now, I think if another week or so goes by, then it's more of a, hey, is he actually really healthy? But I believe that he is. I just think that some guys want to ease their way into this, while some other guys probably want to jump in with both feet. And I don't think, for a veteran player like Betts, that he has earned the right to play when he decides it's time to play. He doesn't need a bunch of spring at-bats to get ready unless he wants a bunch of spring at-bats to get ready, and then you give them to him. So with a veteran player like Mookie, I think you just kind of leave him to his own schedule. And if this is what he wants to do, I think it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah, and every player is different. Freddie Freeman, in an interview a couple of days ago, he said he was scheduled to have 47 at-bats. Not 46, not 48, 47 for some reason was a specific number that he shared. And in this case, Betts, it's been a full week of games. We haven't seen him, but let's remember also last year it was a grind. He was learning how to play shortstop full time. He was pushing his body hard, and that late spring illness that cost him weight and momentum heading into the start of the regular season out there in Japan, that was big for him. Now, fast forward to now, he's 33. He's entering the second half of that massive long-term deal that he signed with the Dodgers, and he's coming off a 2025 season that by his standards wasn't good, because his standards are up here. If we want him to be the best player in baseball, he wants to be even better than that. And when you bat 258, when you're on bases 326, when you hit 20 homers, that's not a Mookie Betts like season. Still a great player, just not what we're accustomed to from Marcus Lim Betts. And that's exactly, I feel like, why the Dodgers are trying to play it smart this year, to be like, okay, man, as long as by the last week of March you're ready, we're good.
Yeah, I think that, I think we've talked about this. This is why, everydayers are probably looped into this already, that I think that the Mookie offensive question is probably the top of the list of questions I have for this team as far as their everyday players go. That, let's say 5 years from now, when you go to Mookie Betts's baseball reference page, is there a clear delineation between 2024 and up from where he started his career and 2025 and down to where he finished his career? Do we go from this was the guy that was an MVP contender or an MVP winner in his case? This was a guy that was an elite offensive player for the first part of his career through 2024. And then something happened in 2025 where all of a sudden he just, he aged, he slowed down, whatever it may be. Or was 2025 just a weird year where he, like to your point, Harry, he got sick early, he lost some weight, he struggled to kind of find his way through. He's going through a positional change and trying to deal with that, and it bled into the offense. And then 2026 and beyond looks more like the first part of his career, or the soft decline that you see is perfectly acceptable. I think Freddie Freeman. Like, Freddie Freeman is not the player he was 5 years ago, but it's really close. It's really close. That decline is incredibly soft. The decline we saw from Mookie last year was not soft. It was dramatic. So I think what the question is that the new Mookie, or is that just a weird year? And so that's the question I have for him. And if he needs time, great. If he wants to hit the ground running, if he wants exactly, 53 at-bats, and he knows that he can get that in between now and the end of of camp, that's fine. I don't worry about the spring with him, assuming health. I'm really curious what he's going to look like offensively. We know he can play shortstop now and do it really, really well. But is he going to become a really good shortstop who occasionally can provide some offense, or is he going to be Mookie blanking Betts and be one of the best offensive players in baseball?
And that's the key right there. There's no position overhaul this time around for him. So there's no rush. There's no need to prove anything in March. I feel it's more about pacing instead of urgency. And you've seen it all around this organization when it comes to Blake Snell, when it comes to Tommy Edman. We know that Edman is going to start the season on the IL. We know more than likely Blake Snell won't be a part of the rotation on opening day. They're trying to ease them in. They're trying to let the body catch up. And opening day might be the target for some guys, but for others, it's like, hey, it's not the case. As long as they're ready for October and have an impact in October, that's key. But in the case of Mookie, of course, he's playing a premier position at shortstop. He is a key cog in that top three in the starting lineup. So you would absolutely want him to be ready. So that's why I feel that this first week, they're like, hey, if you just want to keep on hitting over there in the backfields, taking it easy, not going to a game-like environment, that's good. Max Muncy said something really interesting. And as a former player, Travis, I would like to hear your opinion as well. He said in these games, getting up and getting down, going up from on the field to going down to the dugout in between innings and all that, that's what they feel like it works out a lot for, where it's like getting your body into baseball timing. And because it's not easy being out there on the field, maybe for a long inning, and then going and sitting down for 3, 5, 10 minutes, and then going back out there with potentially one at-bat or no at-bats.
Yeah, I think this is why, it's a good example of why they'll very frequently do controlled environments when you're getting a rehab assignment, right? Where they won't put you into a game. They will have you throw, if you're a pitcher, we're going to throw 23 pitches. We're going to sit down for 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever the number is. Then we're going to go do it. We're going to control the time up and down, because in a real game, you may go out there and throw 8 pitches and you guys go and your team goes up there to hit. They may be up to bat for 20 minutes before you get a chance to go back out there. You can't really control it. So I think Muncy is right that this is just that the up-down routine of the intensity of a game, even though spring training intensity is obviously very different than the regular season intensity. It is a little bit of that up down. And if he just wants to get bat to ball or ground balls or whatever Mookie it is that he wants to prioritize, you can do that in a much more controlled environment. Now you got to get a little bit of game stuff going on. I mean, it's not like you could just show up opening day against the Diamondbacks and just be ready to go. I mean, maybe Mookie could. If anybody could, maybe it would be Mookie. But you do need to get a little bit of game rep and just that ebb and flow and everything else that comes along with it. But I think we're a long way from being worried about it.
Which, by the way, we've been seeing a lot of starters play in spring training and Cactus League action. I thought it was very smart from Dave Roberts. When they played the Diamondbacks a couple of days back, we didn't see a lot of those guys. It was mostly a minor league lineup. And I was like, hey, they're going to be the team they're playing on day one of the regular season. You don't want to show them what you have or what you don't have, even if it's for an at-bat or for an inning. When it comes to pitchers, just try to keep that edge on you. And right now with Mookie Betts, the guy that we're talking about, if the Dodgers are serious about a three-peat, which they are, the smartest move they can make right now is patience, and that's what they're doing with Mookie. So even if a crazy psycho that loves watching spring training baseball like me on TV, thank God we have Sportsnet LA, and we can watch pretty much every single game, except when they have a split squad game where we watch one of the two. It's great to see all the guys. Mookie, hopefully we see him soon. Sunday might be the day, if not Monday or Tuesday. Next on Locked On Dodgers, one Dodger made a huge impression this last week in a very short amount of time and then left camp immediately. MLB opening day is almost here, and you can feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, and that first crack of the bat. Whether it's a breakout rookie or division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being at the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind with long queues, surprise fees, and prices jumping out of nowhere at checkout. That's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing prices and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means that you get 100% authentic tickets, delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. No surprise fees out of nowhere. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats and minutes. That's what makes it so easy to decide last-minute plans to hit up a game. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON, Locked On, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. This week only, so you got 2 days left before the end of the month, and you can do this. Use the code SPRING for a free month of our Everydayer Club. Go to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to join this community. Once again, use the code SPRING for a free month. Kim makes noise. Then he leaves camp. If spring training were about first impressions, Hyeseong Kim absolutely nailed his. Limited opportunities, limited at-bats, but maximum impact. In just a handful of games, Kim showed why the Dodgers are intrigued. Quality contact, speed that plays everywhere, and defensive versatility that keeps doors open. And then he was gone. He's over at Asia playing in the World, ready to play in the World Baseball Classic starting next week with South Korea. But Travis, this for him, for players like this guy who last year had his ups, had his downs, went over with the OKC Comets, was with the big league club, who wants to get more opportunities. Spring training is fantastic for him. He hit his first spring training home run yesterday, helping the Dodgers get the win over the White Sox. The other day, he was playing center field and he made 2 great catches. And I was like, man, I'm one that's like, if he's comfortable at second base, leave him at second base. Don't mess around with that. But his speed plays everywhere. And when I saw him at center field, I was like, man, good thing that he has that, because if he wants to play, that might be an easy avenue for him once Tommy Edman comes back, if Andy Pages isn't there. So Hyeseong Kim, I know that he's a guy that isn't a polished product, isn't a guy that is ready as right now, but it's good. These kind of times this month, these 6 weeks before the regular season, for him, they're great.
Yeah, I think that for a player like Kim, I think his ability to do a lot of things is near the top of the list. Like I would be stunned if anybody in the Dodger brass is thinking, let's just put him one place there and leave him. Think about what the Dodgers love: versatility. The Dodgers love guys that can do more than one thing. If you're going to do one thing, you better be Freddie Freeman. You better be somebody that's like that can just hold down a spot and never give it a second thought. Otherwise, you're going to need to be able to do more than one thing, and Kim can. So if he can go in the outfield and hold his own or better, great. If he can play shortstop or second base and hold his own or better, great. The biggest thing I think, Harry, that I saw yesterday in particular that was nice is to see him swing the bat a little bit. That the Dodgers and every other team, there's an old, baseball phrase that I think applies to most people. It's like, who are my 8 best guys, 8 best hitters? We'll find a place to put you in the lineup. Like the days of having a guy that could just, feel, the best fielder in the league, gone, right? Unless, Ozzie Smith would have had to have hit a little bit more back in the day, right? Like you need to hit. So if Kim hits, there's going to be at-bats for him, right? Whether those at-bats are in center field, whether those at-bats are at second base, whether those at-bats are maybe at shortstop. Maybe Mookie needs a day here or there to catch his breath or whatever it may be. But Kim swinging the bat the way he did yesterday, I think is a good sign. He's a good player. The Dodgers gave him a multi-year deal coming out of Korea a couple of years ago, and they don't miss on those guys very often. So they obviously have plans for him. But if he hits, they're going to find a place to put him in the lineup, no question.
Yesterday, I brought up Casey Blake. Now I'll bring up another Dodger from the early 2010s, D. Gordon. Remember him? When he got on base, he was a threat. And that's what I feel that we need from Kim. It's like, I don't care if it's via walk. I don't care if it's via a hit or a double. Just get on base. Same thing a couple days ago. He stole 2 bases in the same game. And that's the thing. As long as you're on base, you're going to get the pitcher's state of mind in another place, because he's going to be more focused on you over at first base and thinking about, I need to get something fast to the catcher because this guy might try to steal second, instead of just focusing on getting the batter out at the plate. We had a caller a couple of days ago send in a voicemail on our Locked On Dodgers listener line, and we'll hear what he had to say. Once again, if you're calling in, please let us know what's your name and where you're calling from. But for now, caller from the East Coast. That's all we know about him. But he wanted to talk about Kim.
I'm a Dodger fan since 1953 from Brooklyn. I'm 81 years old. Still a Dodger fan, although I live on the East Coast and my team is on the West Coast. I want to know why don't the Dodgers give Kim a shot to win the second base job? Why are you paying him $3 to $4 million a year and you're not using him? He's got speed, he can field, he can run, and given the chance, I think he can hit 270 with about 8 or 9 home runs and do a good job. I think they should be given a chance. He should be given a chance to try to win a spot at second base. That's all I got to say right now. Go Dodgers.
And Travis, I feel he's raising his hand, and with his play on the field, he's earning an opportunity, and now he's going to go play in the World Baseball Classic with another opportunity to impress with another set of players, with another set of capabilities out there, and see if he can keep this hot streak going. But for now, you're going to see other guys get that opportunity at second base, like a Miguel Rojas, like an Alex Freeland, Espinal, see if somebody sticks around before Kim comes back. But when Kim comes back, I feel that it's going to be Kim and whoever plays the best the next week and a half for the Dodgers.
I think you're going to get a little bit of a competition between Kim and Freeland because you know what you're going to get with Miguel Rojas, right? He's a longtime major leaguer. You know he's going to be the smartest guy on the field. You know that he's going to make the plays defensively, and you kind of have an idea of what he's going to do offensively. He's a proven commodity in the major leagues. Freeland isn't. You don't know. Like maybe it's way better. You just don't know. Maybe it's way worse. I think the same thing could be said with Kim. We just don't know. He needs more at bats, but at bats are hard to get on the Dodgers. There are so many good players. And, the caller brought up the point that they're paying him, $3 or $4 million a year. That's nothing. I mean, that is literally in the Dodger scheme of things. I know in the real world where you and
for us, it is.
Yeah, it's
but
it's
for
light,
them, no.
But that is a drop in the bucket. It doesn't make any difference to them. They are not thinking, hey, we're spending $3 million on this guy. They don't care. They gave Brusdar Graterol $1.5 million to never play. I mean, it's the money has absolutely nothing to do with it. He's got to hit. It's not super complicated. He can run like everybody's talking about. He can play multiple positions. That's really good. You can't steal first base. You can't do it. You got to hit. You got to get on base and you got to get hits. And last year he didn't hit much. Doesn't mean he won't. It means that he's got to get better with the bat in his hands. And I'm optimistic. I believe in him. I believe that he's a hard worker. I believe he's a really good player. But you got whoever hits will play second base. And then Tommy Edman will come back and he will play second base and center field. And they'll move some guys around. So when you get your opportunities to hit, you need to get hits. This is why guys like Chris Taylor for a million years, and even Michael Conforto last year, who had a dreadful season. Don't get me wrong. It was a really bad year, but Michael Conforto was a 10-year major leaguer with proof of concept that he could hit. Now, he never hit for the Dodgers, but they're going to give you a long runway to prove if you're a proven commodity. If you're an unproven commodity like Kim, if you go a week or two and you're not hitting, they're going to move on to somebody else unless there are no other options. And the Dodgers have nothing but options. So it's simple and it's hard. Hit and stay in the lineup. Don't hit, and they're going to move on to somebody else.
One other thing, how we know that the Dodgers don't need the money. You see most baseball teams on their sleeves, they have a sponsor, right? Even the Yankees, they have like Star Insurance on their sleeves. What do the Dodgers have on their jerseys? A Guggenheim logo. That's them. That's the ownership group for the Dodgers. Where it's like, nah, we don't need to take no more money from nobody. We got enough money. $3 to $4 million. That's like a day of Dodger dogs at Dodger Stadium.
I guarantee you they want more money, and I guarantee you they sold that patch to themselves. That was not free real estate for sure. I would bet my farm on it for sure.
Just use it as a write-off on tax. But look, when it comes to Kim, he is far from winning a job yet with the starting lineup for the Dodgers, but he made sure nobody forgot his name before heading over to the World Baseball Classic. That's for sure. All right, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, baseball may be headed for a salary cap that changes everything you know about how the Dodgers build rosters.
Workplace chaos. Deadlines are stacking up. Your inbox is overflowing. And the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Job. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that tells you everything you need to know. In the minute or so we've been talking about this, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you are hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We're talking less stress, less time, and more results, right? When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners in this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Dodgers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers, not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. The end of open checkbook baseball. Let's zoom out and way out when it comes to that, because this final topic could impact not just the Dodgers, but the entire sport. According to MLB insider John Heyman, baseball, when it comes to salary cap, these are potential numbers of the salary cap: $260 to $280 million. And then it comes to the salary floor, $140 to $160 million. If that sounds dramatic, it is, because you look at the way that the top of the spending totem pole is with the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, and then the bottom of the totem pole is with bottom feeders like the Marlins. There's a huge difference in those numbers, both at the top and at the bottom, Travis.
Yeah, I think the floor is more important than the ceiling, quite frankly. And I think that's what the players would probably argue as much as anything else, is that, you know, the great players will always find a way to get maximum compensation, right? Like, look at the other leagues that have salary caps, whether it's the NFL. Dak Prescott makes $60 million a year. LeBron James and Luka Doncic are making, you know, I think Jaylen Brown is going to be making, I think, $70 million a year at one point with the Celtics. Like, great players will always get taken care of, but that floor, I think, is the thing that lifts every boat. That's where they're going to argue. I think we're a long way from it. I think that there's going to be something that's coming in here, but it'll be interesting. I think it's more of an intellectual exercise than it is anything else. But one of the things about the Dodgers that gives me such, you know, comfort and allows me to think that they just have the smartest guys. They have guys that have had to work under budgetary constraints before. Andrew Freeman came from Tampa, right? Like, these guys have come and worked without, you know, huge budgets before, and then applied a huge budget to it. We've seen what it is. They'll figure out the new rules. They'll figure out what's coming next. And it just, you know, if it's a hard cap, it's one thing. It won't be a hard cap. The players would never agree to a hard cap, but they'll figure out a way to get what they want to get done. And they're still better at drafting and developing than most other teams. So it's interesting. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's good for the game if the floor comes up. If all of a sudden the A's and the Marlins and the Pirates and whoever else you want to throw in there have to spend more money, that's good for everybody else.
Hey, Travis, let me ask you a question. How many teams do you think started the last year lower than that 160 million mark that could be the floor when it comes to salary cap potentially in the future? How many teams would you guess?
I'm going to guess a little higher than I would have otherwise, just because of the way you asked the question. 12?
15.
15. Okay. Yeah.
That's half of baseball that would be asked to raise the way that they've been spending the last couple of years. And I just went to the number last year because that's what was finalized by opening day. And then you go and look over at the teams that spend, that want to be there, that want to try to win. And the Dodgers, that might be the case right now, where it's like, hey, you know what? This might be the last year where we're allowed to spend with no limits. Let's go and spend with no limits and try to get as many guys in the building. But because also, what are you going to do? Are you going to force the Dodgers to trade their top players to other teams because of a salary cap? Or out of nowhere, the Marlins going to be interested on taking somebody's $50 million salary because, oh, we need to spend more money because now there's a salary floor? That's something where baseball is going to be stuck in a pickle for a while, where it's like, okay, now what do we do? Because the Dodgers have $700 million committed over a 10-year period with Shohei Ohtani, or $365 million over $25 million with Mookie Betts over 12 years. It's like, what do you do in that type of scenario where, okay, are the guys that are already locked into contracts, those don't count? Or is it a prorated situation? It's just something crazy. I just hope it doesn't cost us a lot of baseball, because that's what fans are afraid of. Baseball's getting a lot of momentum right now. We don't need any work stoppages.
Yeah, I would imagine that every player that's under contract to their team beyond the end of this year is grandfathered in with whatever is coming next. I don't think you're going to get a situation where they're pulling guys off, right? That just doesn't seem realistic in any way. And again, like, all of this stuff is interesting, but it's down the road. They'll figure it out. the Dodgers have advantages in economics. They have advantages in other ways. They have advantages in geography. They have advantages in attendance. They have advantages in just being in the city where they are with all of these people. So this kind of like idea, the economics of baseball, I think are going to be more impactful for the teams in the middle and the bottom than they are at the top. The Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Phillies and all those teams you mentioned, they're probably like, just, yeah, whatever comes down the road, we're going to figure it out. We're still going to spend every penny that we can spend under the rules. We're still going to find a way to maximize these things to the best that we can. That most of this is a topic and a conversation, I think, for the middle and the bottom, because they probably don't want to spend that money. They probably don't want to get closer to that. And if they have to, okay, that means instead of taking the Dodgers, luxury tax money and putting it in their pocket, they got to put some of it back on the field. That's a problem for them. I don't think it affects the Dodgers really in any meaningful. Whatever the rules, the economic rules are, they will maximize them to their advantage. Whatever rules there are to make sure that the other teams have to catch up, that's not their problem. So, they're going to kind of be where they are anyway. They're going to be at the top. They're going to spend the most money, or at least as much as they are allowed to under whatever rules get put in place. I don't really worry about it too much, other than what you said at the end, which is hopefully this doesn't get into some horrible, standoff where nothing gets done and everybody digs in and then we lose games, because that's bad for everybody, including the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, they've built something historic before the potential rules change. And if a cap comes, the era of stockpiling MVPs and all-stars may look very different. And you're going to have to go back to 6 years ago, where instead of buying them, they were building them in cases like Corey Seager, like Cody Bellinger, like Walker Buehler, Julio Urias. You can keep finding international stars that don't cost you as much. And potentially Josue De Paula could be playing in place of Kyle Tucker and doing a great job at it. Or Zaire Hope could be playing at another corner outfield spot. And then you have De Paula, Hope, Pages in the outfield, and you still have a very productive outfield if you're not allowed to keep on bringing guys like a Teoscar Hernandez or a Kyle Tucker, and you can keep going the same way over with a rotation where, yes, right now you have Yamamoto, you got Snell, and you got Tyler Glasnow. And of course, Shohei Ohtani is somewhere in there where I'm like, okay, he's a DH, he's a starting pitcher. Where do I consider him best? It's like he's great at both spots. But let's just say those three guys that are full-time starting pitchers, you're spending a lot of money in those guys. But then if you can't have all those three guys in the future, and then you bring up a Gavin Stone, you bring up an Emmett Sheehan, a River Ryan, and it's like, hey, we're still good. That's the beauty of Dodger baseball. So you could have people complaining like our very good friend JT the Brick about the Dodgers deferring money into the future and saying, wah, the Yankees don't do it. It's like, well, they could. They're not. The only thing that the Yankees defer is good performances in the World Series like Aaron Judge. But let's see what the Dodgers end up doing. And I feel that, hey, they didn't break baseball. They just mastered it before the game might end up changing forever. All right. That'll do it for today. Or sorry, Travis, you got the last word?
They're on a heater. This stuff, I mean, the Dodgers have had the most money for a really long time. They're just really good right now. They've picked the right guys. They've spent the right money. They've done other times where they've started to spend money and it didn't work. The Yankees have spent money and it didn't work. The Yankees have spent money and it did work. Like, I just feel that everybody's lost sight of all of this. This stuff goes like this. It's a cycle. You just never know. They're interfering. They're in a point right now where they can do something historic, but everything had to break exactly right. And this preoccupation with the money is just, I don't understand it. Like, they've always had the ability to do this. They did when they were losing to Arizona and San Diego. People weren't. It's just such a lazy way to think, in my opinion.
I 100% agree about that. All right, that'll do it for today's pod and this week and this month of Locked On Dodgers. Thank you for making our show your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers at free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedondodgers.supercast.com to join the club. Remember, you only got today and tomorrow to use that promo code SPRING to get a month for free. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. We'll be back on Monday. Travis, I'm going to make a prediction that I don't like. On Monday, the Dodgers won't be undefeated no more.
Oh, well. Oh,
They got 4 games starting today. Yamamoto on the mound. Then they got doubleheader, spring split squad on Saturday, one more on Sunday. I have a feeling they might lose one of those games, and we'll talk about it here.
I think you're probably right.
Let us know in the comments below. Do you agree with us or not? All right. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.